You're listening to That Home Loan Hub. I'm Zibuni Salimova, here to make home loans and property investing simple, smart and stress-free. Let's get you closer to your property dreams. Hello and welcome back to That Home Loan Hub. Today I am joined by Santa. Kidding. I have this beautiful person here with me today. His name is Mark Ashton and he is here to share his home ownership story. Hello, Mark.
Kia ora, thanks Ihoa, and kia ora koutou to all of your subscribers and listeners, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. It's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah, well, it's been just over a year since we settled, I think, so.
Yeah, how's that going?
It's been busy. Yeah, it's good, we're really happy. We are, just keeping on. World's pretty crazy right now.
Yeah.
So, just trying to keep it real and keep fit and healthy and keep the kids on track and, all of the usual stuff with life, university, everything. Yeah.
Everything. Thank you so much for being so brave and volunteering to share your story.
Pleasure.
I did not.
A little bit nervous, but I'm okay.
Just for full disclosure, I have not twisted your arm to be here, right? You are at your own free will.
Very much so, yeah.
Awesome. So, Mark, tell us about you and Shelly and, who you guys are and what was your background and what made you come to me.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I guess for a little bit of context, so Shelly and I had both come out of, marriages and past relationships that hadn't obviously worked out. And we'd met and connected and, shared similar sort of passions and interests and so forth. And at that time, Shelly had her two boys and they were quite young, I think 4 and 6 at the time, something like that.
Wow.
And, we connected and Shelly was working, she had a couple of casual job. She's sort of in the sports and fitness and aquatics industry. And I was working various jobs as a contractor in the film industry, so often away and so forth. And we were just kind of, we didn't have a lot between us. We sort of, had a little bit of savings and we decided that we were going to make a go of it. And kind of we did, when we were renting at the time and just continuing to work and had always kind of wanted to own our own place. Shelly very much so. And, just over the course of time, it just didn't seem like it was going to be something that was doable. We just came to a point where we weren't, we were kind of struggling with savings, like we were, surviving okay and making bills and payments and so forth. But it was taking a long time to get savings together. And then just inquiring with lenders and so forth, we really didn't have between us consistent enough income that was seen to be, something that they could rely on. And then that kind of changed. I ended up with a full-time job in the same sort of industry and was reasonably well paid. And Shelly also managed to secure full-time employment, through in her field as well. And that kind of grew. And then, so that kind of established a baseline for us. And we just kind of built on that and, we're responsible with our spending and, just putting some money aside for savings and so forth. But we were renting and
paying someone else's mortgage.
Paying somebody else's mortgage, yeah, totally. And there's always that element of uncertainty. We were really good tenants. We always, maintained the places that we were renting as if they were our own, essentially. And and it was getting unsettling and kind of frustrating. And it was just like, right, we really need to make a go of this. And so we just saved like crazy and approached, the bank in kind of, our first attempt. And, it still wasn't enough. There wasn't enough security. And, so that was fine. We'd almost resolved ourselves to essentially renting for the foreseeable future. And then I was pretty determined, I think. And I think that's kind of, that was the real driving force. There's a cracker saying that Dolly Parton has, which is like, if you don't like the journey you're on, then start paving your own different journey. And that was what we did. We became determined and started doing a little more research. And I can't even remember how we met you.
I was about to ask, it's been so
long
ago.
It was just almost like, I don't know, I feel like we met in the street or something. And I guess that's part of the process as well, is just the partners and the people and the mentors and the advisors that you connect with along the way. And we very much connected with you and felt like, Zebonisa is a straight shooter. And, there was just a calmness about the way that you were sharing information. And, I think that gave us a sense of possibility as well. So then, that was the journey. We worked out that we could tip in our KiwiSaver together, and we were shopping around for properties, and we found our unit down at Paparam Beach, and I think we negotiated over like 5 weeks, 6 weeks maybe, just trying to get the price down, try and make it work for us. And they were pretty motivated to sell. I think it was one of the last units that were for sale in the block. And I think I was actually looking at it this morning. So at that time, we ended up getting it for like $567, something like that. And I think the interest rate at that time
was pretty
was
high.
around 6.3 to 7.5, something like that. And we managed to lock it in with your help and advice at 5.67, I think, which we were pretty happy with. And so we locked that in over 3 years. 5.65 it was actually, over 3 years. And so we put together the finance plan, and thanks so much to you and to Lorraine at the time. Just helped us navigate that process. And I think there's another aspect to it as well, is that I think there's an old kind of concept that if you've got some smarts, you often overthink things.
Yeah.
And I think that was actually a bit of a hindrance to us. It's like I was overthinking everything and stressing about everything, and Shelly was kind of really worried about what we were giving up our KiwiSaver, and we're older. I'm 60, Shelly's getting older as well, and so we were kind of outside of that prime candidate for a home loan and finance and so forth. But we managed to pull it off with our friends and supporters. So, so we did that. And I think that's where, we came to. So we settled in October last year, and we were really happy in the place that we're in. There was a pretty real moment of just budgeting and planning ahead as well. Like, really had to make sure that we were able to maintain the payments and the rates and the body corporate as well. So I did kind of a pretty intensive spreadsheet process, making sure that we could make the payments and then increase that incrementally year on year, and still not be compromised in our ability to continue making some savings and support the kids, because they're older now. So 2 of them have moved out One's finishing varsity this year, and our other one's Max is 15. So, you know, it was just factoring all in, making sure we could still survive and still make saves. So that's been like a year. And the next phase was reinstating our saving process, just so that we had, you know, an emergency fund. And so the goal is, like, by the end of this year, we want to have 25K in the bank, and we'll achieve that. Like, we're on target to achieve that, just to have as an emergency fund. And then in the background of that, I'm looking at, on behalf of, you know, Shelly and I and our family, investment properties, and just working out a way of leveraging, you know, our current situation into another, you know, property or two properties, something like that, and just how realistic that is. There's a lot of narrative out there available on, you know, YouTube, and there's different providers and so forth that are offering up deals and advice and whatnot. So it's just about, I think, you know, sifting through the noise and coming and chatting to you again, probably.
I was about to say, Mark, hold on a second.
So,
you're not going to talk to me?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. So,
okay.
Yeah, so there you go. That was a pretty long spiel.
I love it.
How was that?
I love it. That was awesome. I think the key elements here that you've rightly pointed out is having the right people on your team. Because if you have the wrong people, you know, like I know when you came to me, you were already turned away before. And when I looked at your numbers, I was like, no, we can make it happen. You know, it's doable. I remember, I'm trying to remember, I think Shelly rang me first, and she found me from somewhere, and we've connected. And I think what blew my mind is that, yeah, at that point, you didn't have a stable contract. She did. But yeah, the deposit wasn't as high as we needed it to be and things like that. So there were a few elements there, but we managed to make it work. But remember, we took a pause. There was a house that you guys missed out on first. We sort of got it approved, sort of not, and then you sort of like, we don't want to go ahead. And it was, I think it was the right call because it was at the time when the market was peaking. Yeah. It was at the heat of the market, so it was a really good call. And then you stepped away for a bit. You concentrated on your savings, concentrated on getting that permanent position. And then you came back to me, I think 2 or 3 years later. And then that's when...
Was it that long?
Yeah, yeah.
Crazy.
I think I remember when Shelly got in touch with me, I think I just had my daughter. So it would have been COVID time.
Yeah, right.
Something like that. So it's been 5 years now, yeah.
That's insane.
And then I remember we tried and then we put it on hold and we came back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, it seems like such a blur. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Totally worthwhile.
Yeah, and I think sometimes this is a really important message that sometimes, you know, you will fall in love with the property and you want to buy it and, you know, you try so hard, but then it's just not meant to be. And you just have to recognize that. Because I remember when you guys came back and Shelly said, yeah, it was actually a good decision that we didn't go with that because of X, Y, Z. So I think sometimes it's important to remember that if things happen, they just happen for a reason. And you know,
you're right. Actually, that's interesting. And it's about clarity on what it is that you're going to be comfortable moving into. Like, we didn't want to move into a doer upper. Yeah. We just didn't have the resources at the time to, you know, be renovating on the run, which, you know, potentially would have been a better investment if we could, you know, build the value on the property. But that just wasn't something that, you know, we were considering at that time or able to do. So we wanted to move into a place that we would be comfortable in, you know, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, exactly. And you bought a brand new, there's no maintenance to it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, perfect. And then the other thing that you mentioned was budgeting, which is really important because, I mean, listeners listening out there going, oh my God, you fixed for 3 years, what? But I mean, at that time when we sat down and the rates were very uncertain, the rates were climbing up every week as we speak. So, you know, at that point, 1 year rate or 6 months rate was like 6.9 and 6.8, you know, quite high rates. And yes, it is much lower now, but you just couldn't make it work on your budget and take that risk that, within a year, maybe it will improve. What if it didn't? Yeah. What if we were at 8% now? Yeah. So I think it's also recognizing those moments and not going, oh, I wish I did this or I wish I did that. I think what you did suited your budget. And I think, again, that's very important to note that if you don't have a clear budget in mind, it's really hard to determine which rate to go with.
Yeah.
And you base that 3 year rate given your circumstances. And then in 3 years' time, you will have other factors affecting your lifestyle. Another child will move out of the house, probably going to get cheaper because you don't have to buy as much food.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe. Just taking a wild guess here because you've got a boy.
Yeah. No, that's definitely the case. Yeah, it's certainly, it was settling into a groove and just like establishing some touchstones that we could be familiar with and rely on, and just get into a routine of making those payments and saving some money as well. Like now I think the OCR is like 2.5 and the average. I was looking a couple of days ago, I think the rates are like between 4.5 and 5.5, that sort of thing. So, maybe that's a conversation that we'll take up with potentially other lenders. We may have to, look at taking a bit of a hit of an exit and a restructure and a refinance. But then on the other hand, we're pretty keen on just keeping that consistency and reliability, especially if we want to go back to a lender, with that history, in order to support further investment.
Exactly.
So, just weighing up the pros and cons of that at the moment. But yeah, certainly at the moment, keen to investigate possibly restructure on the rates.
Yeah, no, I can have a look at it for you. I know someone that can.
I know someone who can.
Mark, another point I want you to stress again is a lot of buyers that come to me, they're like, oh, are we old enough? Are we too old to apply for a mortgage? And what would you say there?
I think for me, it's like a lot of decisions in my life is to choose to have no regrets. So, we sat down and just weighed up what our options were. We acknowledged that we were older and that it was going to take time. And then, when we pulled the trigger on pushing ahead with it, that was the moment that we decided not to have any regrets, whatever happened. So hopefully that all works out. But that was the thing, and it was it was interesting actually, because it was almost an extraordinary moment when ANZ came back to us and approved. And
how long was your mortgage approved for? Do you want to share that?
Oh, like 20 years, I think, was it?
Yeah,
20.
Because I know you were.
I thought it was 25, and then we realised in the fine print it was actually 20. So but that's obviously wasn't wearing my glasses.
I should have gone to Specsavers.
Yeah, totally.
But I think this is a really important point to stress, that a lot of people are scared to approach us because they think they're too old. And when I tell them, look, we do have success with older clients. It's all based on stage in life and what happened. Because, a lot of people, as you say, they come away from one marriage. This is where probably they lose a lot of the asset and they have to rebuild again when they're in their 30s and 40s. So it's just taking them a bit longer again to rebuild and be in a position to buy. And I think it's really cool that you're saying this, because hopefully that sends a message across to our listeners that are listening. Yeah. And, some of them are younger and they might go, oh, actually, I have mum that wants to buy, or I have a dad that wants to buy, but they worry that they're in their 60s and they can't.
Yeah. And that's a reality. We're both pretty fit and healthy. So that was a bonus. Like insurance for us now is much more expensive than if you're much younger. And, just to those that are out there listening and in the virtual world, if you're young and this is something that you're considering, then, get amongst it, especially now while the rates are low and, it feels like it's a buyer's market at the moment.
Definitely.
And get good advice from Zeb and Issa, of course. But yeah, for the older group, I think it really is just weighing up what it is that you want to achieve and that you've got the energy to do it. And we were a bit anxious about it. And ultimately, we just weighed it up on balance. It's something that we really were driven to do and just had to action it. And then, I guess it's having an exit strategy as well. So,
Yeah, which was,
ultimately, if something happens to one or other of us, we know what we're going to do, and we know how we're going to settle the deck. So yeah,
I think it's having those open conversations with each other. And to be honest, often I feel like I'm playing a therapist, a marriage counselor during those discussions, because one wants this and the other one wants this, and then they've got all these different fears and different anxieties about different things. Like you were saying, Shelly was worried that suddenly her KiwiSaver was depleted, and that's her retirement fund, right? Same as yours. And that's worrying, because if you're already halfway through your life and you're like, damn, how much longer do I want to be working?
Yeah.
And how's that KiwiSaver going to perform for me? But at the same time, if you're paying someone else's rent, you're always at the mercy of, rent going up. You can't control that. Same as the interest rates. They can go up. But you can get kicked out anytime, because if the landlord suddenly decides to sell the house or, move in it themselves, that's it. You have to start looking for a new house. And especially if you've got animals, that's always harder. If you've got pets.
Yeah, 100%. It was a real change as well. We had a dog, golden retriever, and cats, and heaps of everything. Like, as you know, with children, you're just accumulating furniture and stuff, heaps and heaps of stuff. So that actually took quite a long time. Garage sales and lots of stuff on Trade Me, and just reduce, and getting into a very zen kind of mode, which felt really good at the end of it, even though it was quite a challenge. And to your point on the rental, I think if you're in a city or an environment where the rentals are plentiful and they're at a high standard and you have options, that's a realistic alternative for your foreseeable future through to passing. I guess for us here, we just felt like there wasn't actually that real opportunity to constantly be able to be in a place that we felt comfortable in it, happy in. So I guess that was another contributing factor as well. So yeah.
And also I think when we were comparing the repayments, what you were paying in rent was almost the same as you were going to pay in mortgage. So
yeah, it worked out more.
Plus rates and body corp.
And the body corp factor was a pretty significant consideration as well, because that's only ever going to go up. But on balance, we worked out that we could still do it, and we could just make our payments and still survive on one wage if we had to. Only just, but
no steak anymore.
Hey?
No wine and steak.
Yeah, well, no, that's a real thing. Like, we just had to be, we live a pretty humble life. One of the advantages of living right by the beach is we're in the ocean every other day, and out and active, just doing things that don't cost money. I love going out to restaurants and to eat and that sort of stuff. We might do that once every 3 months. We just really cut down on all of those.
Yeah.
That sort of expenditure. And, as I said, we're just putting savings aside so that we know that we've got some backup, and that we can still, contribute to making sure the kids are happy and safe and well and clothed and fed.
Fed. I love this because, see, a lot of people, they come to me and they go, I want to buy a house. And then I show them what the numbers will look like and what sacrifices they'll have to make. And no offense to our younger listeners, but a lot of younger people, they don't want to make the sacrifice. They're like, no, I still want to have this lifestyle and a house. And I'm like, yeah, but you can't have both sometimes. Like, you have to either increase your incomes, that you can have both, that you can still go out and have takeaways every day and, and have a house, or you buy a cheaper house and maintain this lifestyle. But you can't have the $1 million house and go out every night. Like, it doesn't work this way. So you have to be prepared to take those sacrifices. I had to for, the last 14 years of my life of buying houses and having babies and being on maternity leave and going back to work. So I know what it takes if you want to get from this position to this position. But a lot of people are not prepared to make that sacrifice. And I think the moment they realize, oh, okay, if I make the sacrifice, I'll get myself to this, then they're ready. But until they realize that, they're not ready to buy a house, in my opinion.
Yep, for sure. And just being informed about what the other opportunities are, like, maybe investment in property is not your thing. Maybe, like, for example, we're reinstated and, going hard on our KiwiSaver. And I'm really enjoying actually now just managing our KiwiSaver through, I've got it with Sharesies at the moment. And so I'm actively monitoring a small portfolio of investments and what have you. And I quite enjoy that. Like, I'm just fascinated with world events and how that affects markets and, various prices of shares. And maybe that's your thing, but there's just something really elegant and simple about property. Now's a good time.
I love it. Thank you so much. I'll just take you everywhere with me now to do the marketing for me. Because I feel like when we say now is the time, people think, they just want to ramp up the business. But honestly, truly, now is the time.
Yeah, 100%. And just like listening to different, commentators and just watching the trends, it feels like it's all going to be a little bit flat for, probably into the end of Q1 next year, maybe, possibly into Q2. So, get amongst it, go shopping for property through summer.
Love it. What would be your advice to a 20-year-old Mark? If you could go back in time, what would you tell yourself?
Crikey. It's interesting. It's having, like, I'm not particularly financially driven, and neither Shelly or I were brought up in an environment where there are a lot of those skills passed on. In fact, virtually none. So there was really not a lot in the way of discipline. The smarts were there, the desire to be, independently wealthy and travel the world. So going back to that time, I probably two elements. Firstly is making time to have fun and to explore and to learn new skills and meet lots of new interesting people and just go outside of your comfort zone and go into the world. And then separately, just put 10, 15, 20% of whatever you're earning aside into a no-touch, account or an investment account or something. Like, that just seems to be advice from, the beginning of time. And it really does build up over time. And then that's contributing, to a deposit. And then the sooner you get in, I think the sooner that you're going to actually get the benefits of that. Get good advice. Make sure you're going into the right property in the right situation. And, maybe go travel for a bit, get that out of your system and go see the world and meet interesting people and do crazy things. But then, I really genuinely wish that I got into property investing, 40 years ago.
Yeah, that would be a completely different story now.
Yeah.
And that's the thing,
I
right?
wouldn't still be working.
No, well. I had an interesting call the other day from this client, and he said he just returned from overseas. He's been overseas for the last 20 to 30 years, and he's trying to buy a house again, and he's in his 70s. And he's like, look, I've owned a couple of properties before, and silly me, I sold them all before I left. And he goes, I owned a property in Situn, and he bought it. And I was like, I'm scared to ask, how much did you buy it for? He goes, back in the day, I bought it for whatever, and then I sold it for 300K. This property is now worth 3 million. 20 years later, it's 3 million. And that's what it shows, that the way the property market can increase, you just can't predict it. And everyone's like, it's going to crash, it's a bubble. We've been hearing this for the last 20 years, and it's only keep increasing year on year. So you're right, like the sooner you can get onto the ladder, whether it's property investment, and I'm always for diversifying, have a property, have a portfolio, have something else on the side as well. So awesome. Mark, any other parting thoughts before we wrap up?
No, just be kind to each other.
Be kind. I like that. We don't see that enough in the world.
Not at the moment.
No. And I just want to share something kind that Mark did for me when he turned up. So I was recording this previous episode with Kunch, and those that listened to the previous episode would have heard me go, what on earth is happening outside? I've sent my 12-year-old to wash the car because they were having this morning off school to bake for the bake sale later this evening. And I've got 3 12-year-olds in my household, and they finished with their baking for the day. And they said, oh, we still got another hour. And I said, cool, go and wash my car outside if you want lunch. And I was going to order them pizza. And they were outside washing the car. And then suddenly I see that the 12-year-olds disappeared. And there's Mark outside hosing my car down.
Well, they were struggling with the hose.
Thank you.
And the soap was on the car. And, you can't leave the soap on the car. So.
Thank you. And for that, you win the kindness award of the day. Thank you so much, Mark. It was
absolute pleasure.
Absolute pleasure having you. And I just, from my point of view, all I want to say is that clients like you and Shelly make me keep going, because in today's world, everything is, everyone wants to have everything done yesterday. There's a lot of pressure in our environment, a lot of clients that we deal with that are constantly, on our cases because the banks are taking so slow. Like, we are great at what we do, but then it's the bank side that we can't control. And when we come across clients like you that are patient, that are kind, that are just awesome to deal with, like, it just fills my cup and fills my heart and makes me go, okay, tomorrow is another day. I want to have more Marks and Shellys in my life. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. So
total pleasure.
Thank you. And let's review those rates for you. See ya.
Let's do it.
And that's a wrap on That Home Loan Hub. Don't forget to hit subscribe and join me next time for more property tips and tricks. Your next smart move starts here.